Hi everyone, my name is Dan Jones. I work for an organisation called PRS Music. I'm a writer relationship manager there. My job entails basically making sure our writer membership are happy, from our top earning multi-millionaire members right down to kind of the latest emerging acts. So I make sure people are signed up, they know what they're doing, and they're reaching their earnings potentials through us. So over the next 40 minutes or so, I'm going to go through everything you need to know to make sure you're getting the most out of your PRS membership. So I'm going to talk about how to be release ready, so the fundamentals of making sure you're registered with PRS and you've got all your songs correctly registered with us. Then kind of what to do kind of post-release or around release, and making sure you're submitting all your live claims, and essentially you're making as much money out of as possible from us. So how many people are members of PRS? That's a good show of hands. MCPS? No. PPL? Okay, that's good. So if you don't know who PRS Music are, we're an organisation that represents the rights of songwriters, composers and music publishers in the UK and all around the world. We ensure that our members get paid whenever their songs or compositions are broadcast on TV, on radio, streamed, downloaded, played in public, performed live, and copied and reproduced. Essentially, if you're not a member of PRS, or you don't work with a music publisher, and the music that you've written, it's been played live, it's been on the radio, it's been streamed in significant numbers, then you're going to be losing out on money that's due to you. Essentially, any business in the UK that uses our members' music is required to have a license with us. We collect that license fee and turn it into royalties and pay our members when their music has been used. So that's it in a nutshell. Obviously, it's a bit more complicated than that, so I'll kind of go through that in a bit more detail. But mostly today, I'll be covering the fundamentals of what to do when you're a PRS member. So as Philip's kind of already said, I'll go through this quite quickly because I know we talked about it a lot in the last session. Every time you record a song, there's two separate musical copyrights there. There's a copyright in the underlying composition itself, the melody, the words. Those are known as the song rights or the publishing rights, and that's the part of the copyright that PRS is concerned with. So it doesn't matter who performs on a recording, or which record label released the recording. It's all about who wrote the original song. There's a second copyright in the actual sound recording itself, known as the sound recording rights, the recording rights, the master rights, or the phonographic rights if you're speaking to someone particularly old school. That's dealt with by the Third Society in the UK, who are called PPL. So there are two main royalty collection societies in the UK. There's PRS Music, who I work for, and we deal with the song rights and the publishing rights. There's another organisation called PPL. They deal with the sound recording rights, although we work very closely with them, particularly with licensing. So places like Small Seeds, who has recorded music playing, will have a license with PRS for the song being used. They'll also have the license with PPL for the recording being used. But as far as the membership is concerned, it is a completely separate organisation. As Philip said, it is free, so it's definitely worth, I'm sorry PPL, it is worth going through their application form and signing up. You will learn lots of acronyms, you will sign US tax forms, but it is free. So yeah, go through it and get signed up with PPL. So I work for PRS Music, which rather confusingly is actually the brand name of two separate royalty collection societies. So first of all, there is PRS, who are the Performing Rights Society. That is a society that most songwriters will need to join. They deal with when music is publicly performed. So whenever your music can be heard by the public, whether that's being played in cafes, in restaurants, or you're playing it live, like Small Seeds, or the Parish to the Brudenell, or whether you've been played on BBC Radio Leeds, you're getting 6 music play, 1 extra play, whether you're getting streams and downloads, that all generates performing royalties. So most songwriters, if your music is being performed in public, you do need to join PRS, or at least make sure you're signed up with a music publisher who will collect that income for you. Under the brand, there's also MCPS, which stands for the Mechanical Copyright Protection Society. They deal with mechanical royalties, Mechanical royalties is a very old term. It essentially means when music is copied or reproduced. So copied onto vinyl, onto CD, but also digitally as well. It also generates download royalties and streaming royalties. Whether you need to join MCPS as well as PRS depends on your circumstances, really. If you're signed with the music publisher, then you don't need to worry about joining MCPS. If they publish all your works, the publisher will collect that income for you. So if you're signed with Songtrust or Centric, you don't need to worry about paying the £100 to join MCPS because your publisher will collect all that income for you and they'll pay a percentage on depending on your deal with them. If, however, you're unpublished and you are your stuff has been released, it's getting a significant amount of streams, then you may want to consider joining MCPS as well, because you are going to be losing out on income if you're not published and your music is doing really well on the streaming services. I speak to a lot of up-and-coming artists. Generally, they'll do an introduction, I'll be like, yeah, I'll meet up, and then I'll look at their streaming stats on Spotify, and obviously they've had like 200 million plays, and they're not published, they're not members of MCPS, and essentially they're going to be losing out on 50% of the song rights for that income. So I make sure they're signed up with MCPS as soon as possible. But if you just kind of got your music up on SoundCloud and YouTube, it's got like 100 views or something, it's probably not worth joining MCPS just yet. You're probably aware of how much money streaming generates. You kind of got to make the judgment call of when it's right to join MCPS. So the third society is PPL. They deal with when recorded music is publicly played. So again, they license like cafes, restaurants, shops, but also radio and TV. So if your songs are performed on the radio, they're being played on Radio 1, you're going to get paid by us for writing the song, and you're going to get paid by PPL for performing on the recording, and if you're self-releasing, you'll get paid as a rights holder as well. So going back to MCPS as well, so if you are exclusively signed to a music publisher, don't worry about joining because that's covered for you. If you're just self-releasing physical copies, there's no real point joining MCPS either, because we'll be collecting money from you to pay you the money back. It's only when like a third-party label is releasing your material do you need to kind of consider joining MCPS. And again, if you're limited by what you're doing online, then it's probably not worth you joining MCPS just yet. There may be like a couple of pennies of royalties, but that's not going to justify paying £100 to join. And again, synchronization, if you're unpublished, to kind of fall under the PRS Music blanket licenses, you do need to be signed up with MCPS as well, because a lot of times that we're kind of, if the BBC wants to use your music, essentially it needs to be covered by our blanket licenses, which means you're covered with PRS, you're covered for MCPS, and the song is registered correctly on our database. If they see you're not registered for one of the societies, or the song isn't registered correctly, a lot of times they may just move on and use the next song, because they don't want to follow, unless your music is the must-use music, they'll just move on to the next person down on their list. So as we're talking about releasing, I'll talk a little bit about digital, because that's how most people release their music this day. So how much you get paid really depends on the service, the platform it's on. So if you use on the bigger digital service providers, the Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, they report all their data to us. We match it all up, invoice them, and pay the money out. If you use on smaller platforms, particularly like random websites, you're not guaranteed to get paid for every stream, just because it's not cost effective for us to get reporting from every single website in the world. We process over 27 trillion performances of music every year, which is a really hard figure to get your head around. If you just imagine the amount of Google searches that are performed every year, then times that about 5, and then you kind of get to that figure. So there's a lot of data processing that goes on to make sure songwriters get paid when their music is streamed online. As I said, there is no set per stream figure, so I always get people asking, my track's had 50,000 plays on Spotify, what am I going to get from PRS? And my answer is, I can't tell you, not because I'm being awkward and I don't want to tell them, but just because there is no set per stream figure. Sometimes you'll see a lot of articles go around that'll say, oh, Spotify pays this amount, Apple pays this amount, YouTube pays this amount. There is no set per stream figure, that's all kind of done on averages. Most streaming Whether this is fair or not, this has been talked about a lot at the moment. It's based on what's called like a revenue share basis, where it's all about how many plays you've had that month compared to everybody else on the platform. So I've released my new track. It's had 1 million plays that month. Roughly, and that's 1% of plays on Spotify, I'll get roughly 1% of the money. The following month, my track's picked up a bit of traction. It's actually had 2 million plays that month. But Ed Sheeran, Drake, Taylor Swift have also released new albums, and my actual listener share has gone down the platform, so I'll receive less money that month for more streams. So it's really difficult to advise what you're going to get. Also, premium listeners, such as me, who pay my £10 a month to Spotify, we generate more money than free users who use the free tier. And streams in some countries are worth a lot more than streams in other countries. So I was going to say streams in the UK are worth a lot more money, but then we crashed the economy in the last fortnight, so that's not a good example. That said, for something like YouTube, like an ad-funded service, I generally say if you're just a member of PRS, you need about 1 million plays to get 100 quid back. These are all kind of ballpark figures, so yeah, sometimes it can fluctuate quite a bit. And Philip talked about it, and I can never say the word correctly. Equitable, I'll call it ER. Basically, you don't get paid for streams as a performer in the UK. Again, that's something that's been talked about. Everything's back to this government. It was being talked about in Parliament quite recently, but then they've kind of got more pressing things going on at the moment, whether basically performers should get paid for performing on record as a performer when songs are used on Spotify and Apple. You can get paid for non-interactive streams, so kind of what we're talking about with Sound Exchange earlier, where basically the non-interactive, the more like radio stations that are online that are kind of tailored to your taste. But for interactive streaming services like Spotify, like Apple, you don't get paid as a performer. How the money does get paid is on this slide. So if you pay your £10 a month to your streaming service of choice, after tax and VAT, about 30% of that money goes to the platform itself, to your Spotify's, your Apple's. About 55% of the money goes to the recording rights holder. So I speak to a lot of songwriters who hate streaming, and generally when I speak to them, they're signed to a label. The label are collecting that 55%, and it kind of depends on their deal, whether they're recouped or whether they signed a really bad, probably pre-digital contract, and they're getting a fraction of that back. But I also speak to a lot of songwriters who absolutely love streaming because they go independently through a digital distributor such as DistroKid, CD Baby, TuneCore, and they get all that money directly from their distributor. So they're getting hundreds of thousands of streams a month, and they get that 55% chunk straight to them. The songwriters, gets about 15%. So that's the money that normally flows through PRS Music in the UK. Then we have to split that 50-50 between PRS and MCPS. Then we have to split that between all the different interested parties on the works, all the different publishers, all the different writers. So I think I was looking at one of the tracks from the Beyonce's new album that I think it samples Right Said Fred, because they were, I'm not allowed to say anything about our members in public. They were saying stuff about the song and how they hadn't cleared the sample, even though it seemed that they did. And I think it had 32 different writers on, so we have to split that 15% between 32 different interest parties and all their publishers. So you do get paid streaming royalties through PRS and MCPS, but it usually is kind of a fraction of what you get through your distributor or your label is collecting. So now I'm going to talk about what you actually need to do as a member. So not everybody was signed up as a member, so if you are wanting to join, it's a one-off £100 fee to join. You do need to join individually, so if you're in a band, you're in a group, you all co-write together, all of you do need to join separately. You can't join once as a band. If you are signed up, everything is done via the website, www.prsmusic.com. Log into the website, and this is what the home screen looks like. This may sound like a very boring thing to do, but I've worked at PRS for 15 years now, and probably the number 2 reason why people don't get paid is because they haven't told us that their bank details have changed. It may sound a really silly thing, but you'll be amazed the amount of people who change bank, move house, change email address, they never tell us. We're trying to pay them money, it's bouncing back. We try and email them, send them letters, it bounces back to us. So please, it's a really easy thing to do. Just log into the website, go to edit account, and make sure you keep up your address and your bank details updated. The number one reason people don't get paid is because they don't register their songs with us. So if you join us, that's fantastic, but that isn't by no means the end of the journey. You need to register your songs. If you're published, so you go through a music publisher, it's your publisher's responsibility to register your songs, to make sure they're aware of that. Make sure they know your membership number. A lot of times, you'll sign up with a publisher, they'll register you as a non-member, they won't know your membership or CAE number with us, and they'll continue to receive 100% of the royalties. So make sure you make them aware when you join PRS and they've got your membership number. If you are unpublished, then it's on you to make sure your song is registered. To do it, first time you do it can look a little bit intimidating because there's lots of fields, you may not know what they mean, but there's only actually about 2 bits of mandatory information. We are constantly refreshing the website. This is hopefully going to get an overhaul next year, but it is pretty straightforward as it is. So I'll show you how to do it now. So we go into the website, click on register a new work, click on register a new work. When to register songs, I always tell people to register songs pretty much as soon as they've recorded them. Even if you haven't recorded the song and you're playing a song live, that's going to be generating you royalties. So essentially when you've written them, get them registered. If you co-write with other people, as Philip said, it's really important. Use their song share agreement, get it documented. It can be a really awkward conversation. Split how you're going to split the royalties, but do make sure you get it written down. Even like an exchange on WhatsApp is better than nothing. As Philip was saying about proving copyright, people I speak to get fixated on that. What happens if someone rips off my song and says I wrote it? We deal with about 10,000 what are called counterclaims at any time, and the vast majority of them are just co-writers falling out. They're not songs of ripping off other songs like that make the big kind of headlines in the papers. It's co-writers can't agree the splits. They wrote a song together, didn't really think about splits. 6 months later, money comes involved, the songs become a smash hit, and everybody's kind of memory gets a little hazy about who did what. So try and have that conversation as awkward as it can be and get it documented and then register it with us. So first bit of mandatory information is basically the song title. So tell us what the song or composition is called. Then if the song's got any alternative titles that could be reported at, so if it's been translated, if it's been remixed, add them as well. The rest of the information is pretty much mandatory. If you do know the duration, it's been recorded, report that. The rest of the bits of information on this page is quite related to quite a few of you. A lot of you said you've writing music for TV, you're writing for film. So there was a little kind of tick box there where if you have written music for adverts and ident, click yes, and you'll be asked a bit more information about the campaign and clock numbers and things like that. If the song contains any samples, please, for the love of God, get those samples cleared before you actually release it. Otherwise, you're going to lose out on a lot of money. And if you do write music for opera, for theatre and film and TV, there's a few more little tick boxes that will ask you about instrumentations and things. But if you're just writing kind of a general, what I call pop song, you can ignore most of those fields. The next page is the other really important page. It's basically telling us what the songwriting splits are. So it's really important everybody that's registered the song registers their claim. So we've got their claim and we've got that they agreed to those splits. So in this example here, there's one songwriter who's claiming 100% of the performing share and 100% of the mechanical share. So essentially, they're the sole songwriter. They're going to collect all the PRS royalties and all the MCPS royalties. Even if you're not a member of MCPS, please put a share in there, otherwise the song won't be fully registered. If you co-write with other people, said it's really important that everybody registers their claim and you add them to yours as well. So in the other section here, we click add writer down the bottom and find their name and input what the shares are. Always try and get your co-writer's membership number, or what's also known as CAE number or IPI number. If you co-write with people from overseas, you'll be able to find them here as well. Get their membership number, don't just do it by name. And Daniel Jones, we have over 15 Daniel Joneses that are PRS members as well as me. If you search for Daniel Jones, it'll bring back over 100 Daniel Joneses around the world, so you're probably going to register it to the wrong one. So get their membership number right, so we pay the right person. This example here, we split the song 50-50. It doesn't have to be a fair split, it can be whatever you agree between yourselves, and it can be done on a song-by-song basis. So this song, we co-wrote it together, it's a 50-50 split, that's fair. The next song, I actually wrote about 90% of it. They just came in and added like a nice little bridge, so I'm going to give them 10%. The next track could be the other way around. They wrote 75% of it, I wrote 25%. So you just input that. You can do it on a song-by-song basis. The next page is probably the page I get the most questions about because it is quite convoluted, but it's quite simple after I explain it. Do you want to assign this work to a US society? So in the UK, we only have PRS Music. In France, there's only SACEM. In Germany, there's only Gamer. In America, there's actually 4 competing societies that you can join. And here, you basically got to state who your preference is of who's going to collect the money for you in America. You're not joining them. You're basically saying, is ASCAP or BMI or CSAC okay to collect your royalties for you? So you do need to choose. If you choose no, essentially, anytime your music is played in the US, you're not going to be collecting that income. So do a bit of reading, have a word with other writers, see who their preference is, and make sure you click one of them. The next bit is also really important. Do you have any recording artist, ISRC, or product information to add? So we're going to click yes here, and essentially tell us what the track is on, so what the artist name is, what the album, what the EP is called. But the most important bit on this page is the ISRC. So if you don't know, an ISRC is an international standard recording code. So every time that song is recorded, it generates a separate ISRC, which you can collect from PPL or you can collect from your distributor. So I'm not a member of PPL because I gave up on the website, but I go through CD Baby, and every time I release something, CD Baby generates me an ISRC, and I input it with every time I register a song with PRS. When we get streaming data from Spotify and Apple, every month they send us a list of every single stream on their platform. They send us pretty much the artist name, the track name, and the ISRC. So if you've got generic song titles, it makes it quite hard for us to automatically match that. But if you do include your ISRC, it automatically matches and you're going to get paid. So do try and include your ISRC. So you can go back and add them to past registrations if you haven't done this before. And if the song's re-recorded and released on something else, again, you can add it to the song. Multiple submissions, so you can register up to 99 songs at the same time. So if you've written an album, it's 15 tracks, all the songwriters and splits are the same. Just click yes here, and you can basically put in the 15 song titles, and they're all registered at once. If the songs have different splits, different songwriters, then you do need to do it on an individual basis. So that's how to register songs. Once you submit it to us, in about 2 working days, you'll get an email back saying the song is successfully registered. Here's a tune code. A tune code is a unique identifier that PRS Music uses, and you kind of use that for different tasks that I'll show you through now. If the song has been completely registered correctly, a week or 2 later, you'll also get given another code, which is an ISWC, which is an International Standard Work Code. That basically means the song has been successfully registered by everybody on the work. Everybody agrees to the correct shares, and it gets this another number, which basically means it's uploaded to an international database for all the societies in the world to look at. And a lot of times your distributors, a good distributor will be asking you for that code as well, because again, that helps with matching songwriting streams. So that's how to register your works. How to search a database. So if you want to look if your songs are registered correctly, you want to check your publisher's been doing their job and register your works, click on Search Works. And there's a variety of ways to search. So in this example here, I'm just going to put in the title of the song and the surname of the writer, and click search. And means it was quite a narrow search. It's brought me back one search result. If I just put in love song, songwriter Jones, it'd bring me back hundreds of results. But I found the track I'm looking for, just click on the song title, and this is how the song looks here. So you can see the song has got one songwriter, here's a membership number, they're claiming 100% of PRS and MCPS. I can look if it's got any alternative titles. If it's been registered with an ISRC, it can also link to the PPL database as well, and you can see if it's been registered correctly with PPL as well. With PPL, it's the rights holder that needs to register the recording. So if you're not the rights holder, get onto them and say you need to be registering this. If you are the rights holder, you can go ahead, register it as a rights holder, then add your performing share as well. If you spot anything wrong, you can just click amend up here. You can change any of the details on the database. Every time you do amend a song, it will create a duplicate on the database. A lot of people email me quite alarmed about that. They'll say, oh, there's 2 registrations of my song on the database. Can you get them merged, or can you delete one? You don't need to worry about that. We do a thing called Activity Plus, which basically means we've got over 35 million songs on the database. We can't keep up with every single song because we actually probably employ about 10,000 people just to do that. So we do know there's duplicates that will link behind the scenes, and when they're active, which means they're going to earn money in the upcoming distribution, then our copyright team will basically look at them and they'll merge them together. So don't be too alarmed if you make an amendment and the old work is still on the database, because we will merge it when the time is right. If you're just interested in looking at your works, you can click on the My Works button here in what it's called the Hero banner from our tech team. So click up there, and it basically brings back a list of your works that are registered to all your membership numbers. So everybody has to join PRS under their true legal name, and you get given a membership number. But if you write under different names, we can basically assign you what we call a pseudonym, and that gets a separate membership number, but all the money kind of gets funneled through the one account. So we do have quite a lot of credible songwriters who write incredibly bad music for other people and don't want people knowing that. So they register those songs to a different name. So you can't say, oh, it's this person from this credible indie band. You see it's Joe Bloggs. But behind the scenes, we're paying that money to the person from the credible indie band. If songs are missing from here, then it could well be that your co-writers or your publisher has registered the songs, but they haven't registered your membership number. So that's why I was recommending, if you can't find it here, do the Search Works way, and they may have registered it to someone with the same name with the wrong number, or a lot of times they have forgotten to add your membership number. So that's another good thing to keep an eye on. You can also, this is kind of off slightly, there's a little button there where you can download it into a CSV file as well, and you can look through it offline. So that's how to search your works. So those are kind of the 3 key things you need to do to be release ready. Is essentially making sure you've got your admin in order and make sure all your songs are registered on the database correctly. The next few things are things you need to kind of proactively do after the release. So submitting your live claims. So radio, TV, streams, all that should get paid automatically as long as you've registered the songs on the database and you've done it in a timely manner. Essentially, to get paid, you need to make sure your song's registered at least 2 months in advance of a distribution, just because we process such a large amount of money. Even though we had payday this week for October, we're already processing payments for December. So you need to make sure your song's registered at least 2 months in advance, otherwise it may slip into the next distribution. Live is a one income source where the onus is more on the member to inform us, because simply, if you're playing after this, Small Seeds, we don't know you performed, we don't know the set list you performed, so you need to be proactive and register your live claims with us. If you're playing kind of like bigger concert venues, then normally they'll ask you to submit a set list. If you're playing like Glastonbury, Reading, Leeds, there'll be someone from PRS there collecting your set list from you. But I always advise people, no matter where you're playing, report your set list through our website. And I'll take you through the process now. So we click on Report a Live Performance. If you've done this before, you can have a look at all your submitted gigs, and you can kind of see whether they're being paid and what the status of them is. Or we can just click on Report a Live Performance, tell us the date of the performance, where it was. So as Philip was saying, we've got agreements over 150 different countries around the world. So if you've done a tour anywhere in the world, basically you can report it through the website, and we'll speak to the overseas affiliate to collect that money for you. Tell us what the venue was called, click search, and basically find the venue. If the system can't find the venue, there's a little Google search, and as long as the venue appears in Google, we've got the information we need. If you play in a venue that's not on Google, then yeah, good luck with that. But also, you can manually enter it as well, and we'll try and get this mysterious venue to pay you royalties. If you're playing festivals, there's another button there where basically you just there's a bit more information we ask for, such as like this stage you're on. If you're doing it for the first time, you'll basically have to create a set list from scratch, give the set list a name, tell us who performed it and whether you're the headline or support act. If you've done this previously, there'll be a button up there that says add existing set lists, where essentially you can just basically use the same set list again or amend the existing set list. But if you're doing it for the first time, you need to build your set list. So click on add works at the bottom, go type in your songs. If the song's got the same title as other people, it'll bring your songs up first and go through and add your songs until it's all looking good and you've completed the set list. Once you're happy you've got the set list, click submit and it's submitted to us. How royalties work for live basically depends on where you're playing. So we have kind of a different schemes depending on the size of the venue. So we have a thing called the gigs, clubs and small venues. So places like Small Seeds would be that. Essentially you get paid about £9 per show. So this is across the show. So if you're the sole person to submit the set list, you'll get £9. If there's 4 bands playing and you all submit the set list to us, you'll get, why didn't I choose a better amount of bands? Do the maths, about £2 something. Yeah. So that's the smaller venues. When you get to the major concert venues, the places that are primarily music venues, so like O2 Academies, like Brudenell, like Albert Hall in Manchester, PRS takes 4.2% of the box office at every single show in the UK. All this money is in addition to any money you get paid for playing the show. So whether you played the show for free for exposure, or you got paid 50 quid, or you got paid 10 grand, you still due this money. You've assigned the rights to us. Essentially, people can't get you to, some people try, they'll try and get you to sign this away. Boo them. I'm not going to name, oh shit, I'm being recorded. I normally do a joke where I actually accidentally name the person, but I'm not going to. Yeah. Basically, we split it 80% to the headline act, 20% between the support acts. So if you do get like a good support slot, you support someone at Old Trafford Cricket Ground, that could be like thousands of pounds you get as a support act, which will far surpass what you get for the fee for playing. Not sure if there's any classical composers. There's basically a sliding scale. Generally, I say it's about 4.8%, but it gets a bit more complicated. But have we got any composers in here? Oh, damn it. Yeah, basically, it's complicated. Music festivals, we charge 2.7%, and it depends on how long you played and what stage you played on. So if you headline Glastonbury playing for 2.5 hours, you'll get a lot more money than someone playing at Glastonbury on one of the smaller stages, opening it for 20 minutes. How far you can backdate depends on when your membership started. So essentially, you can't claim royalties from before you joined. But as long as your membership covers a performance date, for gigs, clubs and small venues, you've got up to a year to go back and claim the royalty. So if you've just gone, oh shit, I've never realised I could do this, you can go back a year now and put those performances in. For major concerts, again, as long as you remember this long, you can claim up to 3 years. And for international, it depends on the territory a lot. I generally say it's about 2 years, but in places like America, it can be short as 6 months. So try and make it like a monthly, quarterly thing where you go in and you submit all your live claims to us. For everything else, such as like a radio and TV, 3 years applies as well. So that's about submitting your live claims. The next few sections are a lot quicker. So reviewing royalty rates and payment dates. You're interested in what you're going to get paid. Essentially, you can go on the website, look at every single TV station and radio station and see if it's licensed by us, how much we pay out per minute, and whether it's paid out by census, as Philip said, whether it's sampled, or whether we may only just pay it out by analogies. When you're going to get paid, roughly it's about 4 to 6 months after the performances of your music. So we're now in October. So if your music was used on TV, it's played radio, you play it at Small Seeds tonight and you report it to us quickly, you should get that money from us in the April distribution of next year. Claiming unpaid royalties. So, as I said earlier, we process over 27 trillion performances of music every year. We manage to automatically match the vast majority of that through very clever IT systems. If our systems can't automatically match something and it's worth over £5 in value, a human being will basically look at it. They'll do Facebook stalking, go on Spotify, try and look who wrote the song and match it up manually and pay the money out. If we still can't work it out, everything goes up on the website for 3 years for members to claim. So I always say it's worth doing this a couple of times a year to see if there's any money due to you. So click on unpaid PRS royalties, type in your artist name, your song title, and click search, and you'll see that the intern at the BBC can't spell, or they've just completely balls up your name, and that's why we couldn't match it. So write a little justification and say, yeah, I'm Daniel Jones, this is my track, it's registered here, this is the tune code, and we'll go, yeah, that looks like you, we agree, and you'll get the money in the next distribution. So that's about claiming unpaid PRS royalties, getting help and support. So everything I've talked you through over the last half hour, I've created nifty little tutorial videos that go through it a bit more slower and in a bit more depth. So we go to the help section in the top. Firstly, you can basically try and use the help section to type in your question. So will I get paid from before I joined? And there'll be an article here that will hopefully answer your question. If it didn't answer your question, you can basically say, no, it didn't answer my question. I want to raise a case. I'll go through our membership department and they'll get back to you as soon as possible with an answer. And yeah, you basically fill out a form and it goes through to our membership department. This is a lot better than just emailing us or giving us a call, because it makes sure we get all the information we need. We do get a lot of people who email in and go, I got played on the radio last night, where are my royalties? It's like, that's not enough information. You need to tell us what station, what the track was, and stuff like that. So this basically ensures we capture all the information we need. And basically you can keep a track of your cases with us, whether they've been resolved, what the answers are, and things like that. But the key thing I was going to show you is actually not here. It's on the following slide. So I'll go back here. So every time we pay you, we pay out 4 times a year on the 15th of every April, July, October, and December. And every time you get royalties, you get a statement from us. These used to be big paper forms. Then we realized it was destroying small rainforests every year. So we then emailed them out, but now they're all available via the website in the My Statement section. So click on here, and you can basically see an archive of all your old statements. You can download them into PDF or CSV files, or you can view them online. So we're going to click on View, and basically it'll break down your statement. You can do lots of cool things like seeing what your biggest tracks on radio, where most of your money come from. There's also an analytics button where you can basically delve deeper and look out all your royalties over your past statements. What was your biggest song of last year? What's your biggest song in Germany, and things like that. So you can spend hours of fun analysing your statements. And this is a bit that I thought was next, is webinars and tutorial videos. So like I said, everything I've talked to you about, I've created tutorial videos. So if you can't remember how to register work, how to add co-writers, how to look at like statements in a bit more detail, yeah, basically look at the tutorial videos in the help section.